Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, stands as one of the most iconic and transformative figures in American history. His life journey, marked by humble beginnings, intellectual growth, a rise to political prominence, and ultimately, a legacy of unity and emancipation, continues to inspire generations. This biography will explore the various aspects of his life, from his early years to his leadership during the Civil War, and his assassination, focusing on key moments that shaped him and the nation. Early life and background. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a small log cabin in Hardin County, now LaRue County, Kentucky. His parents, Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln, were of modest means. Lincoln's early years were marked by hardship and constant movement. His family relocated to Indiana in 1816 and then to Illinois in 1830, in search of better prospects. Thomas Lincoln was a farmer and carpenter, but he struggled financially, and young Abraham grew up in a context of frontier life, manual labor, and limited formal education. Despite this, Lincoln developed a deep love for reading and learning. His early education was sporadic and informal, totaling about 18 months in all, but he read voraciously, borrowing books from neighbors whenever he could. Books such as the Bible, Aesop's Fables, and Robinson Crusoe left a lasting impact on his thinking and character. At the age of 9, tragedy struck when Lincoln's mother, Nancy, died of milk sickness, an illness caused by drinking contaminated milk. This loss deeply affected Lincoln, and his father remarried a year later. His stepmother, Sarah Bush Johnston Lincoln, would become a nurturing figure in his life, encouraging his intellectual pursuits. Early career and entry into politics. In his early adulthood, Lincoln worked various jobs, including as a rail splitter, a flatboatman, and a store clerk. His experiences during these years exposed him to different aspects of American society and deepened his understanding of the nation's challenges. In 1832, at the age of 23, he enlisted to fight in the Black Hawk War but saw little combat. Afterward, he settled in New Salem, Illinois, where he took on various roles, including postmaster and surveyor. It was in New Salem that Lincoln began to develop his interest in politics. In 1834, he was elected to the Illinois state legislature as a member of the Whig Party. Although his initial campaigns were unsuccessful, Lincoln's perseverance paid off, and he eventually gained a reputation for his honesty, integrity, and powerful oratory. His strong opposition to the spread of slavery became a defining feature of his political philosophy. During this time, Lincoln also pursued a career in law. He became a self-taught lawyer, gaining admission to the Illinois bar in 1836. He established a successful legal practice in Springfield, Illinois, where he earned the nickname, Honest Abe, for his principled approach to legal matters. His law career allowed him to gain prominence and influence in both local and state politics. Marriage and family life. In 1842, Lincoln married Mary Todd, a woman from a wealthy and politically connected Kentucky family. Their courtship was tumultuous, but they eventually married and had 4 children: Robert, Edward, William, and Thomas Tad. Of their 4 children, only Robert survived into adulthood, as the others died tragically young. The loss of their children deeply affected Lincoln and Mary in particular struggled with depression throughout their marriage. Lincoln's marriage to Mary was a significant part of his personal life, as she was both a supporter and a source of stress. While Mary had ambitions for Lincoln's political future, her high expectations and bouts of mental instability often led to tensions in their relationship. Nevertheless, Lincoln remained devoted to her, and their partnership played an important role in shaping his public life. Rise to national prominence. Although Lincoln served a single term in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1847 to 1849, his political career remained largely regional until the 1850s. His opposition to the Mexican-American War and his moderate stance on slavery did not endear him to his constituents, and after his term, he returned to Illinois to focus on his law practice. However, the 1850s brought significant political upheaval in the United States, particularly regarding the issue of slavery. The passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, which allowed for the expansion of slavery into new territories, galvanized Lincoln's political reawakening. He vehemently opposed the spread of slavery, although he initially sought only to prevent its expansion rather than abolish it altogether. Lincoln's debates with Stephen A. Douglas during the 1858 Illinois Senate race catapulted him onto the national stage. Although Lincoln lost the Senate race, his arguments against the expansion of slavery and his defense of the principles of the Declaration of Independence resonated with many Americans. The Lincoln-Douglas debates, in which he articulated his belief that the nation could not remain half slave and half free, marked a turning point in his political career. In 1860, the newly formed Republican Party nominated Lincoln as its candidate for president. He ran on a platform that opposed the expansion of slavery but promised not to interfere with slavery where it already existed. The nation, however, was deeply divided, and his election triggered a chain of events that would lead to the Civil War. The presidency and the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln was elected as the 16th President of the United States in November 1860, winning a plurality of the popular vote and a majority of the electoral vote. His election was met with outrage in the South, where fears of losing control over the institution of slavery led several Southern states to secede from the Union, beginning with South Carolina in December 1860. By the time Lincoln was inaugurated on March 4, 1861, 7 Southern states had seceded, forming the Confederate States of America. The Civil War erupted in April 1861, shortly after Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Lincoln faced the daunting task of preserving the Union, a challenge complicated by the fact that the North was initially ill-prepared for war. Despite criticism and setbacks, Lincoln remained steadfast in his commitment to the Union cause. One of Lincoln's most significant and controversial decisions during the war was issuing the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863. This executive order declared that all enslaved people in the Confederate States were to be set free. Although it did not immediately free all enslaved individuals, it fundamentally altered the nature of the war by framing it as a struggle not only for the preservation of the Union but also for human freedom. The Emancipation Proclamation also paved the way for the eventual abolition of slavery throughout the United States with the ratification of the 13th Amendment in 1865. Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War was characterized by his ability to navigate the political and military challenges of the time. He worked closely with his generals, notably Ulysses S. Grant, to develop military strategies that would ultimately lead to Union victory. Despite the enormous toll the war took on the nation, Lincoln's commitment to democracy and equality never wavered. His speeches, such as the Gettysburg Address in November 1863, eloquently articulated his vision for a united nation, dedicated to the principles of liberty and justice. Re-election and second term. In 1864, Lincoln ran for re-election, facing a divided nation and widespread war fatigue. His Democratic opponent, General George McClellan, campaigned on a platform of seeking a negotiated peace with the Confederacy, but Lincoln's insistence on unconditional Union victory and the abolition of slavery ultimately won him the support of the Northern electorate. Lincoln's second inaugural address, delivered on March 4, 1865, reflected his deep sense of humility and his desire for national reconciliation. He famously urged, "Malice toward none, with charity for all," signaling his intention to heal the nation's wounds once the war was over. By April 1865, the Civil War was nearing its conclusion. Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Grant at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865, effectively ending the conflict. Lincoln's vision of a reunified nation was on the verge of being realized, but tragedy struck before he could see it come to full fruition. Assassination and legacy. On the evening of April 14, 1865, just 5 days after Lee's surrender, Abraham Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer, while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln died the following morning, on April 15, 1865, becoming the first U.S. president to be assassinated. Lincoln's assassination sent shockwaves through the nation, which was already grappling with the aftermath of a brutal civil war. His death was mourned deeply by the American people, and he was widely eulogized as a martyr for the cause of liberty and unity. Abraham Lincoln's legacy as a leader, emancipator, and unifier remains indelible in American history. His leadership during the Civil War helped preserve the United States as a single nation, and his efforts to abolish slavery transformed the nation's understanding of freedom and equality. Lincoln's vision of a government of the people, by the people, for the people, continues to resonate with those who believe in the power of democracy. Throughout his life, Lincoln demonstrated a profound commitment to justice, fairness, and the betterment of his fellow man. His humility, eloquence, and perseverance in the face of adversity made him not only a great leader but also a symbol of hope and possibility for future generations. His life story, from a log cabin in Kentucky to the highest office in the land, serves as a testament to the